Hello, I'm Reeana from Simply Music Resources. I'm a third year music student at the University of Wolverhampton and I am a vocalist. So this video is about texture in music. So firstly, what is texture? So texture is how the tempo, melody, harmony and other musical aspects blend together to create a complex, well-balanced sound. So this video will provide some examples of some of the basic musical textures so that they're easily identifiable for you. The first texture we're going to look at is a polyphonic texture. So a polyphonic texture contains different musical parts that weave in and out of each other. So here I have an example of a polyphonic texture that I'm going to play for you. So try and listen out for some of these characteristics of this polyphonic texture. So in this example, you can quite clearly hear the polyphonic texture as these two melodies, which is just a C major scale, are being played at different points in the music, which then creates this polyphonic texture. And not only is it creating this polyphonic texture, it's also allowing other musical characteristics to shine through. So in this example, you can hear how some harmonies have been created due to this polyphonic texture. So moving on to a monophonic texture. So a monophonic texture, there is only a single melody and line of music playing at any given moment. So here is an example of a monophonic texture. So again, it's just a C major scale, and you can really hear the difference between the monophonic texture and the polyphonic texture, as a monophonic texture is just one single melody being played at any given time. So it's more of a solo piece. If you are a vocalist, you will sing a melody line with no accompanying parts supporting the melody. So it's a solo piece. Or if you are a bassist, you'll play a bass line and just a bass line only. Okay, so that's what a monophonic texture is. One single melody and line of music playing at any given moment. Moving on to a homophonic texture. So a homophonic texture, there is one melody line, but it does have accompanying parts supporting the melody. So a homophonic texture differs to a monophonic texture, as a monophonic texture doesn't have those supporting accompanying parts that support the melody, whereas a homophonic texture does. So here is an example of that. So in this example of a homophonic texture, you can quite clearly hear that again, it's the C major scale, but because it's a homophonic texture, I've added a harmony to that C major scale, which then creates the homophonic texture. And you can really hear the difference between a homophonic texture and a monophonic texture, and even a polyphonic texture, as they all have these different characteristics that contribute to this piece of music. So in this homophonic texture example, you can hear those harmonies that support the main melody. So moving on to unison texture. So a unison texture includes all voices and instruments playing or singing the same melodic line, even if it's played or sung at different octaves. The key of the piece stays the same. So here is an example of a unison texture. So again, it's the C major scale, and I'm not sure if you could hear it, but I did sing the C major scale an octave lower. So a unison texture is all parts, all melodies and instruments playing the same melody, but it can be played at different octaves. So again, with the unison texture, you can clearly see the difference between all of the other textures that we've discussed so far, because they all have their own characteristics and definitions. So, why is texture in music important? So, texture in music is vital as it pulls all of the other musical characteristics together, which we've seen in the examples, and it helps to produce a fuller or a smaller sound. If the texture of a piece becomes more full, so like in our polyphonic texture, It highlights different factors of other musical characteristics such as dynamics, instrumentation, harmony, and structure. If the texture of a piece becomes less and more spacious or thinner, a different sound can be produced, just like our monophonic texture. So it is important to understand and memorise the musical textures and how they each provide different attributes to a piece of music. So, further reading, which I do highly recommend to expand your musical theory knowledge, especially in musical textures, as the ones we've looked at today are just as important, but they are more on a basic level. So, if you do want to further your reading, you could look up a fugue, imitation, a heterophonic texture, and an antiphonal texture to widen your music theory knowledge, which is essential if you are continuing your education in music, or even if you want to continue music in your own time as a hobby. It's always beneficial to know as much as you can about this subject and this topic, so it's there at hand for when you need to use it. So all of this information has been sourced from BBC Bite-sized GCSE Music. I'm sure you're all already familiar with this website. It provides a range of different revision topics and information that are key for your learning and for your independent reading and research. So I would highly recommend for you to go and visit that website to source any other information that you may feel will really aid you in your GCSEs and any further music education. You can also find on ABRSM website, they are an organisation that conducts music theory and instrument exams where you can receive your grades. So they have a range of information that is accessible to the public. They sell activity workbooks to help with your revision. So I would also highly recommend checking out that website, ABRSM, for any of your further reading also. I hope that this video has been beneficial to your revision and to your learning. On our YouTube channel, we have, including this video, 5 videos in total that cover all different topics of music theory. We also have our comment sections enabled, so if you have any questions or queries or any thoughts, please feel free to let us know and ask away, and we will get back to you as soon as possible to answer any of your questions and to support you in any extra needs that you may have. So I would like to thank you for your time for watching this video. I hope that it's been beneficial to you. Feel free to check out the other videos that we have on our channel, as I think that they will also really aid you in your revisions too. Thank you very much, and goodbye.